the next one, Pixar's latest, Elemental. I believe only Tyler and I saw this.
It's not out here until next week, I think.
Of course.
Don't
bro.
spoil anything. I genuinely am very sad.
New York, bro. So yeah, we'll keep Elemental fairly brief, fairly short. We'll keep it non-spoilers. Tyler, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, and I'll actually kick us off with the short before Elemental, Carl's
Date.
Oh,
yeah, right.
Which I thought was just super average, and I didn't care for it much. But then, like, I just hate, like, it was so fan servicey in the fact that Up was what? Over 10 years ago now? Over 10 years ago. And then they just throw in this short, which I get they had the Doug Days short that they've kind of been keep on going, but I just feel like this is such like an average, just nothing short, that then they like play the Up theme at the very end of it to try like the slow piano to try and like be like, hey guys, remember how sad this is, and like remember this like great movie you all loved. Whatever. It was nothing. I'm just gonna say like it was just whatever short. It wasn't anything great, wasn't anything bad. It was just there before the movie. But Elemental itself, Cam, we won't spoil anything for you. Don't worry. It's the
you
thing.
Can I can take off mine.
Okay, there's nothing to spoil.
I love Pixar.
There's
nothing really to spoil.
There's simply really just like nothing to spoil here. So the thing is like with Elemental, it's a good movie in terms of I gave it a 3-star. I thought it was fine, but with Pixar, I feel like when they handle topics, they usually give us such a nuanced perspective on them and such an interesting, creative way to deliver it. Whereas this one just felt so on the nose and so like anyone could have thought this idea up. Like, and I saw like Sydney tweeted or something or put her in her review. She's like, not sure this should ever really left the writer's room, but it was still like a cute movie. And I kind of feel that way too. Like it just felt like such a non-nuanced movie for Pixar standards. Like I said, I liked it, gave it a 3 out of 5. I didn't love it, but I just felt like the whole immigrant story, which was done well. And like I said in my Letterboxd review, like I'm really happy this movie exists because I think for kids in their formative years watching this will be great to kind of show you how other cultures mix. And, sometimes someone might not look like you, might not talk the same way as you, has a name that you don't understand or see as weird, but you're all just people at the end of the day and you are going through the same life together. So like, I'm happy this movie exists culturally, but I just felt like it was just so by the numbers, so by the book. It didn't have that spark that Pixar normally has. I think, George, you said something similar in your Letterboxd review, but it's just tough because I did like this movie, but it just felt very surface level for Pixar standards. The animation I did think was pretty cool, but what's up?
When it comes to, I missed the start of this conversation, so correct me if I'm wrong. In terms of like the simplicity of it, would the simplicity be comparable to something with, less nuance like Luca, for example, or are you saying it doesn't really work on the same level? Because to me, the best thing about Pixar sometimes is when they strip down and they bear the essentials and they don't give me a film that just completely puts, tries to attempt to put you into an existential crisis, whatever, like a Luca, or is it just really bare bones to the point it doesn't really offer much?
No, I think it's the latter portion, because I really do like Luca, and I think it's kind of different what it is here. I think this is very much, basically like the story is, water people, like basically the fire people represent a community going into like New York City, for example, and they have their own niche of the area, kind of like Chinatown would be.
Oh, so it does actually attempt something. It's not like Luca where it's like deliberately not nuanced. It does actually attempt to be, but it's just on the nose, maybe?
Yeah, it's just basically on the nose. Basically, the fire people are kind of like live in like similar to something like a Chinatown where they don't really integrate with society. They're kind of cornered off in their own area. People don't really come visit them much. They like are kind of like, oh, let them do their own thing. They're not part of our society. But then obviously the other cultures like meet them, they start mixing, and then things become happy. It's like, hey, you're just people like us. I really like Luca, but for example, like Turning Red, which is a movie I didn't love as much as most people, I think that was a very creative way to tackle culture and tackle stuff like that. But whereas Elemental just felt so on the nose. What do you give to Turning Red, Seth? You probably gave like a 3 out of 5.
No, I give it 3.5. I did actually like Turning Red.
Okay, that's fair. But I don't know. That's all I got to say. And I thought the voice acting was like really, really good. I really liked the voice acting, and that's something they all were really great. And for the most part, other than like Catherine Hahn, I think is her name, Catherine O'Hara, who was in Schitt's Creek. She's like the only recognizable name I saw on the cast list for like the voice actors. But all the people did great, and I did really like the animation. I thought it was a cool, fun little world, kind of like how Strange World was from Disney last year. It was just kind of an interesting, cool little world they built, and the animation looked cool. But it was just a little surface level for me, which is fine. Like I said, I liked it, just wasn't blown away by it, and wasn't really gonna rave about it like any other Pixar movie.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm right there with you with a 3 out of 5. I don't know. This movie, Pixar has such a long line of just giving us like such fantastic animated movies with, such important themes and stuff like that. And I think Elemental does tackle subjects that need to be tackled, especially for a younger audience, especially for people maybe who feel ostracized or feeling comfortable with whoever in your life. My problem with this movie was they tried to tackle too much. And nothing necessarily felt as fleshed out as it could have been. And when you compare that to like an Inside Out, who's tackling one subject of growing up and moving, it just feels very bare bones and basic, because Inside Out does such a good job at fleshing out this one crucial life aspect of this little girl's life. Whereas Elemental, they try to kind of throw a lot of crap in her direction, not being able to be with this guy because they're of different elements, not wanting to take over her father's shop because, that's not the life path she wants to take. So I think this movie tackles a lot of important themes that, especially for a younger audience, is going to be, vitally important in their upbringing. But I don't think any of those themes were necessarily as fleshed out as I would have liked them to be. And one thing that's kind of like, and this isn't like a story related issue, Pixar needs to do something different with their animation. Like, I think all of their movies have the exact same animation style, and none of them are doing anything to necessarily stand out among each other. And especially coming off of a movie like Across the Spider-Verse, that's absolutely pushing the boundaries of animation.
Like half the budget of a lot of them as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not blowing me away the way, maybe past Pixar films or Ghibli films or even the Spider-Verse films are. And I feel like when you have Pixar, arguably the biggest animation studio in the world, they need to do more with the animation. This felt very, I don't want to say easy, obviously, because I don't know how much it takes to animate a fucking movie, but
easy
this just felt
comparatively to
it just felt very run of the mill. It feels like they didn't really stretch their animation talent, and that's kind of how I feel about this entire movie. It didn't feel like they were doing anything over the top. They weren't stretching any of their abilities or resources. They just kind of felt like they were putting out another Pixar movie just to put out another Pixar movie. But again, with that said, I enjoyed my time with this movie. I think there were a lot of cute moments. I think there's a lot of important themes here that definitely need to be in film. Unfortunately, I just think they just gave it to us in a very bare minimum type way.
Yeah, I like the animation, but now that I'm thinking about your comment more, like at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I agree. But then when I'm thinking about it more, like Strange World from Disney Studios last year had some crazy cool animation that's different than anything they've done. Suzume from this year, from it wasn't Ghibli, but Suzume was incredible animation that was way different than stuff we've seen recently. And then Across the Spider-Verse, it seems like every other animation studio right now is really pushing the boundaries of animation, whereas Pixar's playing a little more safe, which is fine. But the fact that their budgets are so crazy high, like, it just doesn't really make that much sense. But
that's the one thing. It's like, what are we comparing it to? I don't know. It's like comparing it to a Marvel movie. Marvel movies have these massive budgets, and it feels like they're very infrequently pushing the boundaries of what they could do with like CGI. And that's how I feel about Pixar. Like, Pixar has such a massive budget. I'm pretty sure Elemental's budget was like twice the size of Across the Spider-Verse's budget.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think it was.
If you're crazy when you mention like Across the Spider-Verse's budget, because it is so low compared to like every other.
Not even just Pixar, just animation in general.
Yeah, and it's like, how the fuck do you just do that? How does a different studio have double the budget and still make it look shit?
How is someone?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't.
But no. I want to make it clear. I don't think Elemental looked shit at all. I think it looked good.
I was talking about the Flash. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, Elemental did not look bad by any means. It just felt very standard. Like, it felt like they weren't doing anything to push the boundaries of animation.
And I'm happy you touched on the one part about the stories too, how there's just so many, because I forgot, like, so yeah, there's a relationship aspect of reaching across cultures, but then there's also the internal culture of you know, her following in her father's footsteps and taking his job. And I feel like those two things alone could have been like separate movies, like
easily.
About someone growing up in a strict culture of where it's like, you are going to do exactly what the family does, do the family business, but she doesn't really want to. She wants to be an artist. She wants to do glass work instead. That could have been a separate thing, but that had to be mixed in with this romance. And
then on top of that, you're adding in this whole subplot of them like fixing this dam, protecting the Fire Nation or the Fire World.
I didn't care for that at all. That was so weird.
Yeah, didn't care for that at all. So there was just so much going on that, I don't know, it kind of removed any depth from all of these stories. Like, this movie could have been a trilogy for all I care. That's how much was going on. But overall, I went with a 3 out of 5. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I didn't enjoy my time. Some of the emotional aspects hit. Tyler also went with a 3 out of 5. So that will conclude our elemental chatter.